Hello everyone and welcome for the astrology capsule of February 2019. So first I just want to tell you that the famous eclipse, total lunar eclipse of the January 21st, 2019 was very intense for me, and I'm still recovering from all the energy that were there. It was, exceptional. So from that point, in February, some energies from that eclipse will keep working, will keep being very active, and we're talking about Uranus mainly, which was forming a square with both Sun and Moon, and also both North Node and South Node during the total lunar eclipse of January 21st. So this Uranus is still in Aries at the very end of that sign of Aries, and he will finally move on into Taurus in March. So February is pretty much the last time Uranus will form a strong aspect just before leaving the sign of Aries. We remember that Uranus spent about 7 years in a sign, so it's the last chance for Uranus to give its message in Aries, and it's a cycle of about a bit more than 7 years that has been unfolding those last 7 years. So it's a very important moment, and that aspect it's gonna happen on February 14th on Saint-Valentine's Day, and it's gonna be a conjunction with Uranus and Mars. Mars will be in Aries at the very end at 29 degrees 55 minutes. So at the very end of the sign, Uranus will be at 29 degrees as well. So that's going to be like a seal of Uranus on Mars in Aries. So Mars is governing Aries, so he's very strong there. He's very natural, very masculine, like our personal energy just emerging, just giving itself. And also we should make the connection between Saint-Valentine's Day and the fact that Mars is receiving this seal of Uranus, because when we think about Saint-Valentine's Day, we think about Mars and Venus, right? About men and women, about this love, about couples, about this very intimate energy that we share as a couple, that this attraction in a couple, this love, this exchange that is happening. And this time during Saint Valentine's Day, it's Mars that receives the seal. So it's the masculine side that will really receive an exam, actually, that will receive a test. And it's a little bit our desire, what we want to conquer into our loved one, what we really want from the other one. This desire in us, this Mars, this will that is in us, will be under examination. So that's going to be very interesting. It's the last message of Uranus in Aries that is very strong and powerful, and it's just this exam of Mars receiving the collective seal of Uranus. Why collective? Because Uranus is the first collective planets, and there are 3 of them. It's Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and Uranus is the first one, so it's really strong, well placed, well equipped to give the message to Mars that our personal will and desire also has a collective aspect, a collective part. There's also a collective side to our personal will, our personal desire, even in the area of our couple. So this is very special, because usually we think, oh, it's very intimate. Our couple area in our life is something very intimate. It's very personal, and it's so personal that some people think that they can do anything. They can love anyone, they can move on and drop any person anytime, and it's that Mars energy, that it's this strong desire that want to move on from one person to the other. Is that Mars that is there, that usually see things in a very personal way. And in society nowadays, it's also a value that is out there, like your own desire. You have to feel good with your couple, and so on. And it's true, but sometimes we forget the collective dimension of of our Mars, of this will, because there are responsibilities that goes along this freedom that we want to give to our Mars. This time, during St. Valentine's Day, Uranus will put a seal on Mars so that it can remember that it is collective. It has responsibilities and it has a role in society. It is actually forming society very strongly, because we know that the family cells are the base of society, right? So Mars creating the couples, because it's this desire that creates the couples, and Mars having this role, it's actually helping to form the base cells of society, which are the families. And this is very, very strong. Okay. So that was for St. Valentine's Day. It's the main aspect of that day. It's this conjunction with Uranus and Mars. It's actually the main conjunction of the whole month of February. So everything is kind of set up to move towards that moment. Actually, if we look at the new moon of February on February 4th, we see that there's a planet, at least one, at the very middle of each of the last 4 signs of the zodiac. So we have Jupiter at about 18 degrees in Sagittarius. Then we have Saturn at 15 in Capricorn. Then we have actually the new moon itself, formed by Sun and Moon. And there's Mercury at 19 degrees. So Sun and Moon are at 15 degrees in Aquarius, and Mercury at 19 in Aquarius. Then we move on to Pisces, and we have Neptune there. Same thing at the middle of the sign. So we have all those planets activating those last signs of the zodiac. What is very special with that is that the last signs of the zodiac have some kind of a greater perspective. They are more aware of the collective aspect of things, of the society aspect of things, of the fact that yes, we are a whole, we are a group. You know, actually the collective planets kind of start to rule signs with Scorpio, with Pluto ruling Scorpio. And then we have Uranus in Aquarius, and then Neptune in Pisces. So we see that the collective aspect really starts with the last signs of the zodiac. And really those signs are really more capable of having this consciousness of the collective. So this collective consciousness is really into those signs. And so having planets activating those signs right in the middle of the signs at the new moon, and we know that the energy at a new moon will start growing till the full moon. And it's really a preparation to give strength to Uranus at the very end of Aries for this aspect with Mars at the Saint-Valentine's Day, so that this collective imprint on our Mars, on our personal will, and we just described it pretty well, will be strong. So it's kind of a setup that will increase the collective energy so that it can actually reach our Mars, which is very difficult to reach on a collective level, our Mars, because we always defend it as something personal. It's our own will, it's us, you know, it's our freedom, it's our free will, you know, we can decide whatever we want, and it's us, it's personal. Mars, it's that most personal energy in the entire planet system. So it requires a lot of energy to put that Uranus seal on Mars. And this new moon is really saying that it's totally participating into that work. And now let's have a look at the full moon. The full moon will be some kind of a release in the energy, because there's a few aspects that will start being a little bit more, let's say, soft. For example, the square with Jupiter and Neptune that was on since the very beginning of the year is kind of, you know, there's some slack happening there. There's Jupiter just move on. It moved forward quite a bit, now at 20 degrees in Sagittarius. So now the square there is not that precise, and Mercury is actually in conjunction with Neptune. Mercury in Pisces has a very let's say, creative way of thinking. Mercury in Pisces start being way more magnetic, way less electric, and it's very different in its energy. Way more, the imagination can start being more active, and it gives room for this huge space of Pisces. It gives room to this in our mind, and we will actually be more receptive to it during that last part of February. And Mars actually also moved on, left Uranus now and moved on in Taurus. So it left Uranus in Aries, and it will also give it a little break after this strong seal that we'll receive on Saint-Valentine's Day. It will start being more a little more peaceful in Taurus. We'll give it some release. And also we have the big conjunction of Saturn, Venus and Pluto all in Capricorn, and this aspect is actually kind of softening also Saturn in Capricorn, which is quite wise. There is very well placed in Capricorn, is ruling Capricorn, so it's quite let's say harmonious to have Saturn there with Venus, because we could say that Venus will be under, you know, the influence of Saturn and Pluto and receive pressure, but some people might live it this way, and it's totally true. It really depends on, you know, who's who and how do we behave, where we're at in our life, and so on. But for the most part of us, this conjunction is seen as more positive. It's more, you know, adding a layer of wisdom on our Venus, and it's quite nice to have this there, because since Mars will have this seal of Uranus, you know, Mars and Venus, they go together, right? When Mars lives something, we have to look at Venus, what is happening. So it's interesting, after this collective seal on our will, on our desire to put this seal at the Saint-Valentine's Day, Uranus and Mars conjunction, at that very moment, then right after that we have Venus in conjunction with Saturn and Pluto, which is very nice because it gives Venus the wisdom it needs to be able to process the fact that Mars now see things a bit differently, see things a little bit more collectively. And for our Venus that wants to possess very often, well, of course the desire comes from Mars, but Venus wants to keep, you know, wants to be admired, wants to be loved, and so on. So it's interesting for that Venus to receive all that wisdom right after that, and that's kind of calming things down and make it way more gentle the end of February. Like, I think that there's a strong pressure that has been building up from the very beginning of the month, from January 1st until, let's say, Saint-Valentine's Day, that seal of Uranus on Mars. And then right after that, with the full moon of February 19th, things are just calming down finally. So thank you very much for watching this capsule. Don't be shy to share, comment, of course, and like, and so on. So yeah, I hope you will enjoy it as much as you can, and share it as much as you can with your friends and family and so on. Thank you very much.